Over the last 4 or 5 days, I've been playing Guardian Druid on the beta, and I've been having a boatloads of fun. So I wanted to make a real quick, short video to summarise what I like about the Guardian Druid. It's going to lean into the new hero talents and how it influences the playstyle. Whether or not you're looking at Loon's Chosen or Druid of the Claw, it will influence how you play your Guardian Druid. And I really like the diversity, but we're going to talk about that in today's video. And for those of you that stayed with the channel, you'll notice that this is our first ever video back for a very long time. I've had a complete rebrand, a complete overhaul of the channel with a new direction. We're not going to talk about that in today's video, but if you want to learn more, there is a link to a Discord server called The Bench in the description, and you will know all about it from there. But anyway, let's jump right into the Guardian Druid. And in the background, you will notice a Mythic +3, Mists of Tainted Scythe. Yes, we're going back to that dungeon. Yes, we still need to go through that Misty Maze. So yes, dust off that add-on, because you're going to need to be told which one to go through, because I still don't know how to do it. I still rely on other people. But what I would like you to do, whilst you're watching this video, pay attention to the left details box, the HPS healing per second, because one of the discussion points we're going to talk through is when you're a new tank or someone that is, well, reliable on making sure your entire party stays alive by being alive, you want a tank that is not only very tanky but also could handle their own if something was to happen to the healer, for example. And you will notice that the Guardian Druid is pretty good on HPS. I was hitting 900,000 HPS, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when you compare it to other tanks, they only hit sort of 400 to 600k. Whereas with the Guardian Druid, you're nearly at 1 million. Not as good as a Blood Death Knight. I was hitting 1.8, 1.9 million, which you can see on the screen. There's a video coming out of that soon, because the Blood Death Knight is an absolute beast with the new rework. But one of the things you want to consider is, will you survive if your healer dies? And one of them that I was most confident in saying yes to is a Guardian Druid. And you want to make sure you stay alive if your healer dies, and a Guardian Druid is a thumbs up from me. So I jumped into the War Within beta, and I've been playing tanks non-stop. And Guardian Druid was one of the first that I've picked up. And I've played Druid for quite a lot. I've pretty much played every class, but Druid was one that I've really, really enjoyed along the years. So I thought, why not start with a Guardian Druid? And we're going to talk about that. So what I really like about the Guardian Druid is that there is very distinct gameplay about which angle you want to take. So when you look at the talent system, you've got capstones at the very end, and when you look at the class and then also the spec capstones, the goal is that you want to get your talent systems to reach at least maybe 1 or 2 of the end capstones. With certain tanks and certain DPS specs, you tend to find there is a bit of fluidity with which ones you pick, but also confusion about which is the best capstones to go for, and usually you can't get all of them. But what I really like with the Guardian Druid is that if you want to go with a Loon's Chosen, the hero talent, you tend to lean more towards the right hand side of the talent system and more towards the capstone. So looking at Lunar Beam, Twin Moonfire, Galactic Guardian, Elun's Favoured, it's all very much Elune sort of fantasy, and it's all talking about astral power and using moonfires and certain abilities create moonfire and things like that, Lunar Beam, which I really like. It's very distinctive, and for new players you'll very, very quickly pick up, okay, if I want to go Loon's Chosen, I will go to the right hand side of the talent system. If you then look at Druid of the Claw, which is all about what I see as sort of physical and also bouncing between Feral and Guardian, it's more of an expert tank choice, but also you would then naturally gravitate towards the left hand side of the spec talent tree, where you would look at Raise, Blood Frenzy and Pulverize. Because you can't get all of them, this is why I like it's very sort of streamlined. You want to go at Loon's Chosen, which for me was my absolute favourite to pick, you go down the right hand side. If you want to go Druid of the Claw, you go down the left hand side, and that's it really. When you look at the actual tank gameplay, which you'll see on the screen now, I actually believe that it's probably one of the best, other than Blood DK, one of the best self-healing tank. And when it comes to picking a tank for a main, and especially for new players or people that aren't really experienced with tanking, you want to be looking at, if you are in a position where your healer has died or you're still learning the ropes, what's going to be more forgiving in your gameplay. And you want, especially tanks, you want to have that built-in protection, that if things go wrong, you've got buttons to protect you. There are certain tanks that don't allow that, like Demon Hunter and Monk. It's very much you are punished if you don't play it right. When it comes to a Guardian Druid, you've got things like Iron Fur, you've got things like Frenzied Regeneration, you've got things like Barkskin, a lot of defensive talents, but when things go wrong, you have buttons to press. So if we were to do a tier list, I would probably put it at A tier or S tier because it's got everything you need. It's got really good defense mechanisms. It's got ways that you can learn without sort of being absolutely destroyed in Mythic Plus. It's got all heck buttons to press if things go really wrong. But another reason why I think Guardian Druid is going to be exceptionally great in the War Within is that I've tested a lot of the dungeons and there are a lot of mobs that bounce around and sort of do what they want, and some of the tanks I've really struggled with sort of reining everything in, sort of like a Brewmaster for example. I'm finding it very difficult to sort of grab everything and bring it to where I need it to be to make sure that I'm also doing my job properly as a tank, but also my party is protected. When it comes to a Guardian Druid, you don't really have that problem because one, you have Moonfire, so you can maintain the aggro for the enemies that have jumped to the other side of the map. You also have Charge, which is exceptionally well, if you do choose it, but then you've also got Ursul's Vortex as well, so you can make sure that any mobs that jump out end up coming back towards you in the first place. So it has a lot of abilities to make sure you can do your job as a tank really, really well. But on top of that, you have utility as well. So there are certain tanks that don't really bring much other than they are very, very tanky. So Blood Death Knights, for example, they don't really bring a lot to the actual raid other than a combat res, but they don't actually bring anything other than that. When it comes to a Druid, and this is very much like a Paladin, you have a lot of healing. So when you're playing, you will notice that your regrowth becomes a free cast. So you can actually throw that on other members of your party to make sure they get some healing. And it does quite a lot of healing. On top of that, you have a buff. You have Mark of the Wild, which gives 3% versatility. And especially starting out when we're in a new expansion, versatility is king. You will need that damage reduction and damage and healing bonus, absolutely. So if you could have a choice of having 3% extra versatility and also a tank that is a pretty good tank to start with, you're pretty much going to get picked all the time. So I think that with all things considered, the Guardian Druid is going to be an exceptional player in the War Within, and I would very much, I wouldn't be surprised if it's one of those top tanks that gets picked quite a lot. I'm considering doing a tier list, but first I want to talk about my impressions for everything. And I think for me, the Guardian Druid is up there, and it's very user friendly. It's very fun to play. And I know for a fact if you decide to play Guardian Druid in the War Within, you will have an absolute blast. So that's it, our first video back. Very good fun. I've had a lot of fun making this video. I hope it was useful. I want to open a discussion up for the chat, so write your comments in the comment section below to talk about, will you be picking Guardian Druid for the War Within? Will you be going somewhere else? Or do you enjoy it? And let's have a talk about it. And also, if you want to join a community that's all about focusing on casual players, that talks about content, makes it very easy to understand, and hopefully creates a discussion with the community members, have a look in the description and you will be opened to a link to The Bench, the new Discord server all about those things. And if you really enjoyed this video, please consider hitting that thumbs up and subscribing. There'll be more videos coming out for the War Within, not just tanking videos but also dungeon guides and everything in between. So I have been Benchwarmer. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye bye.